Hi, it's Rachel. So I've been talking about driving out fear, okay, and some of the things that entails, and not having a judging heart toward other people, but having a loving heart toward them. And one thing that I want to share with you that's a very powerful truth in coming to that point, okay, and accomplishing these things is in 2 Corinthians 10. And you may know already which verses that I'm referring to, but it says, starting in verse 4. Well, let me start in verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. Okay, and I had talked about how fear is one of our greatest enemies of our soul. Okay, and that's perpetuated by lust, which is perpetuated by lies, and it all kind of feeds each other, and it all grows. It's like it's this entity that can keep growing and growing and growing in our life. That's why you can't have a single lust in your life, no matter how small. And a lot of people sometimes don't understand that it's the small things in our life that create so much harm. You know, if there were just a couple of small changes that each person made in their life, this would be a radically different world. And I mean tiny. Okay, and one of those is about our lusts, the choosing to love, not lust. And as you grow in that, that's a sign of spiritual maturity and growth and development. Okay, when you no longer are feeding lust or partaking of it, no matter how little, how small. That everything that you do is done in love. So in verse 3, it says, for though we walk in the flesh, we don't war according to the flesh. Okay, so this is how you war. This is how you defeat that enemy. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, of the flesh, of the physical. Okay, it's not force, it's meekness. But mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. God is love. Casting down arguments in every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Lies. Okay? Bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ, who is the truth and the Word of God. So how do you start driving out the fear, the judgment? When you get to a certain amount of awareness of your own self, you can look down upon your thoughts. Okay, it's kind of like you're up here and you're looking down at them, and you can see, wow, that's a judging thought, and you can dismiss it. Nope, I'm not going to pay attention to that thought. I choose to love instead. There are many thoughts that bombard our mind, okay? And if you are looking at different media and news and whatever it may be, that's feeding your mind with a lot of thoughts. And it can make that work much harder, especially if they're fear-inducing, lust-inducing. That's why it's so important to take heed to where your eyes are falling, okay? Images and what we take in has a lot of effect on our spirit. Okay, so that's the first thing, is being so aware of those things. And two great qualifiers right there is this inducing fear in me, and is this inducing lust? Okay, those are good things to stay away from. So, but here it's like, how you do that is when you look at your mind, you can realize that a thought is just a thought. It's not real until you choose to act on it and believe it, to meditate on it, to own it. Okay, so when you have those thoughts of judgment come in, what you say is, you know what, I'm not going to look at that person in a judging way. I choose love. I want to see them in a loving light. Okay, the moment a backbiting thought, so someone does something to you and or her, you're just slandering them and cursing them in your mind. Okay, wishing ill will upon them. All right, that is that backbiting. That's what it means. And so if you can choose to give into those thoughts, or you can say, nope, I'm going to choose to love. Meaning, I know that person's broken and they're hurt and they're acting out of their own pain. And my judging of them only makes that situation worse instead of me loving them. And that's when you look to the righteousness flowing through you. You want the righteousness of God, the wisdom of God. How do you love them in truth and sincerity? Okay, so it's taking your thoughts into captivity to obedience to the truth. Okay, what thought is of God and of the paths of life and what aren't. Okay, you can choose to meditate on things that are lustful and feed your lust, or you can choose not to go there. And at first, when you start this journey, it all depends where you're at, okay? Because everybody's at different areas in terms of those different thoughts having control. And a lot of people already living in that, and they feel like it's so much a part of you. It doesn't have to be. And that's what the renewing and the transforming of your mind is. Okay, it's becoming like the mind of Christ, which means it's becoming very pure. So it's in all these little ways you're learning this isn't a thought of God, it's not a way of God, and you're rejecting it. Meanwhile, you're choosing to focus and meditate on the things that are of God, the things that are pure and noble and just and lovely and praiseworthy. Okay, we've been giving those list of things, I think in Philippians, to focus on. That's what you want to focus on. Your mind is very, very powerful. This is where it all starts, because the kingdom of heaven comes within you. So your mind, our soul, has to be purified because it's the venue through which the kingdom of heaven comes into. And if it's full of corruption, the kingdom of heaven, the fullness of God's Spirit can't flow into it, can't flow through it. So it has to be purified. This is how it's purified, in your very thoughts, okay? And not letting those thoughts become beliefs and becoming actions that you act upon. So this whole idea of taking your thoughts captive is how you wage your own battle in your mind. Okay, and it is the truth that is your shield. It is the truth that is your buckler. It is the truth that will free you. And those are the words of life. Okay, the words that bring life to your spirit. And they're always grounded in divine love. Loving one another. Okay, honoring all. So it's taking these thoughts captive. And that's why Christ said, if you love me, you obey me. Okay, for to be in alignment. If you love someone, okay, you care about them. You want their best. You want to be in a unity with them. Okay, in your spirits, in your mind, you want a oneness because you want a closeness. Well, he's pure truth. We can't be, if we are willingly following our lust and following bitterness and resentment and unforgiveness and grudges and vengeance in our mind and judging, we aren't loving the truth. Because we aren't loving others. Therefore we're not loving him. That spirit, okay? And if we're not doing that, we're in opposition to it. We're letting our mind of rebellion consume us. His Spirit is there to purify us, to give us a new mind, not a mind of rebellion, but in unity with God. And that is a mind that's full of his truth and his love. And when you do that, you start having a mind of peace, a mind of rest, a mind of wisdom, because you're starting to act in his ways. And when you do that, that starts creating a peace in your life, and a beauty in your life, and freedom in your life. You're not bound to fear and all these other things and pain. Okay, you're being set free from all those things. A lot of people, I've been talking about this path of purity and not walking in your lust. And a lot of people think, oh my gosh, that's not a very attractive life. That's a lie. Okay, I've lived on both sides. I have lived full blown walking in my lust, having no idea what I was doing, and I know what my life was. I've walked seeking diligently to walk in that divine love, and I have a lot to learn. But even having taste what those paths create, it is far, far, far superior. They are rich, they are full. It is amazing what is there for your spirit and for your soul. Versus if you continue to walk that way, the emptiness that goes along with it, the lack of satisfaction, just the inner turmoil that creates. Okay, it is so much more of a beautiful, enriching life to walk in the paths of life, which are pure, because its love is pure. When you truly love others, you're not seeking to harm them or hurt them. Okay, and when you start removing that out, you're removing out of all those impurities, because everything that's impure, that's what it's doing, is hurting and it's harming and it's destroying. So the path of righteousness, of purity, is absolutely beautiful. And this world and its images have created it to be undesirable. But that's only there to keep you from going through the door, to walking that path, to finding that true life now, not having to wait. You find it now because it comes from within you. It's a place that your soul starts partaking of and drinking of. It's like you find an oasis in a desert. The oasis of your soul is like, even though we're in this place that is so barren and so much suffering and so much cruelty, you find this place of your soul that is just beautiful and enriching and nourishing. Okay, and we are all, and again, you in that place, because you love, it is so difficult to see the tormenting and the suffering of others. But that is the hope. And right now we are all prisoners of hope. But that love is growing so strong, and I'm seeing the purity of it, that perfect love, and it requires the purified vessels. And I feel like that is part of what it's waiting for, is for somehow the purity of those vessels to be prepared so that power of that love can come in. And when it is, it's going to heal. That is what's coming, is healing. That's what mankind needs. No more suffering. So taking every thought captive is something that the internal teacher, the Spirit of Christ, that Spirit of truth, teaches you to do. Because you can only not choose one way when you know the other. So you have to understand what divine love is and start living in that, so that you can start choosing that instead of choosing the other. Okay? Until you start really seeking after and desiring to walk in it, you don't have a choice. But your choice comes so that you can start taking every thought captive when you start having another option. And that is that you choose to love in situations with divine love, with perfect love, in all sincerity.